Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new video, and this one is a flip-through video. I'm showing day 2 of my New York trip from November of 2024. And I am recording this in the sort of middle to late part of June. So yes, it's much later when you're seeing this, but I had surgery and I made some kits of things to work on so that I could scrap from bed or the couch. So this was part of my recuperation time, and it has been such a blessing. I've been able to get quite a bit done. So I am super happy with my progress here. But let's get into day 2. So in the morning, the first thing we did, our hotel was very close to the Oculus. We stayed in Fidei. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna walk like the 2 blocks up to the Oculus and see some art stuff that was out on the South Plaza, and then we're going to go about our business. So this is where we started, but we noticed the building before the Oculus had this art sculpture kind of just sitting in its lobby. So we thought, well, it looks like the public can go in there. We did. Nobody stopped us or anything. And we got to see this beautiful piece of art sitting there. So that was a very nice way to start our day. This is what we actually went to see on the South Plaza of the Oculus. They had this sculpture set up, and it's part of a series. So I think this was round 2. They had already done 1 round, moved it elsewhere, and now round 2 is there. It's still there now, and I think it ends in July, and then they're going to put in something else. We'll see what that ends up being. But we took our time checking it all out, and you're allowed to like sit on these stools here and have your picture taken. You can kind of see my little head right there because my friend Robin was with me, and she took a picture of me sitting there. But we loved all of these, but they were quite busy, as you can see. So when I did the collage and everything, I decided, you know what, I really need to keep the embellishing at a minimum. So that's why it's very, very simple. Just 3 things: puffy sticker, phrase strip, piece of ephemera. That's it. So I had discovered the night before, when the 2 of us were out with my other friend, that my friend Robin had never taken the Staten Island ferry, ever, in all the time she had been to New York. So I said, that's it, we're doing it. So we just started our day a little bit earlier. So we did the Oculus first, and then we went down to catch the Staten Island ferry so she could have that experience. So had it been just me, like, I wouldn't have scrapped that because I've done it multiple times, but because it was her first time, I did want to journal about that and just get a couple of pictures, and I think that worked out well. And actually, for this card, I have like 4 different Statue of Liberty cards in my stash. None of them really matched or worked with what I had going. So I actually chose to cut this out. I fussy cut it from the card I had, and then put it on the brown paper, and then did some ink splattering just so that like it would match a little bit better, because this kind of matches the water, but the other background it had, it just did not go. When we got off the ferry, we did not turn right around and go back immediately, which is normally what I do. We actually decided to walk past the outlet center, walk a couple blocks down, and then Staten Island has its own 9/11 memorial. It's called Postcards, and that's what this is. Now, sadly, this very front part of it, we couldn't access it because they were restoring part of it that had some damage. So we couldn't get super close, but it was still nice to be able to see it. And you know, we had beautiful weather in the fall, so it was nice just seeing like the leaves in color. So it was still worth it. And then we hopped back on the ferry when we were done with that and went on to our next thing, which was the Harry Potter store. Again, I had been there before, she had not. And so I said, okay, you know, this day was mostly about what she wanted to do because she was flying out later in the late afternoon, early evening. And so I was just letting her kind of pick a lot of the stuff. So we did make a visit here. We did not know at the time that it was going to be decorated for Christmas. It was very early in November still, and so I felt like it was too early, but apparently the store did not, because they had all kinds of stuff up. So I chose to use the back of the kind of holiday game. There was a game going on, the holiday game brochure. I used the back of it, just papered it, and then wrote about the fact that I was taking her there since she had not experienced it. And then I moved on to the actual photos. So if you're not a Harry Potter fan, the next couple of layouts are going to be of zero interest to you. And I'm not a JKR fan. I want to make that clear. So hopefully most of us are united in that. But we did take a look around the store, and I have a lot of Harry Potter paper and stamps, cards, ephemera type things. So it's nice for me to be able to use them. So Had quite a few things in here that I was able to use. Like I've had this card forever. It was an old Kelly Perky set of Harry Potter themed stuff and never found a use for it because it's Dobby sock. I get it. Like, how often are you going to scrap about socks? But it worked here because they actually did have socks there. And then I got lucky that that was one side. This is the other side. I just chose to use it. I didn't cover it up with anything. It kind of matched with what I had going. So I thought, you know what? I will utilize it. And I was also able to use a page protector style that I don't use a whole lot. It's one of my least favorite styles, but it worked for the pictures I had here and the sizes, you know, that I could make them. It did work out well. And then for their trees, they had a bunch up, and then each one had a different letter that together they spell it Hogwarts. That was the game in the brochure. You're supposed to find them all. So this one is the S tree. And I really liked it. I thought it was just pretty against the background there, and I wanted to enlarge it a little bit. So I kept the photo as a 4x6, and then I just made it its own insert because I had this postcard that worked on the back. And then this is the last layout from the store. It was very kind of Slytherin themed in part, and then Hufflepuff themed in part, very gold and green. And I just happened to have this card that has both. And it's kind of a funny saying. So I thought, okay, I'll use that. And it's kind of hard to see here. I don't think the camera picks it up well, but I did actually use my gold metallic pen, and I did some highlighting there on the rings and then around this part of the broom, but it is a little hard to see here. When we were done there, we had plans to go down to Jefferson Market Library and then have lunch somewhere in the area. And then we also wanted to see Grace Church. So they were all in an area where once we got down there, we could kind of walk in between them. So I have just some random street shots. I saw this mural and I thought, well, that's fitting. And then just within a couple of blocks, I saw this in a store window. And again, very fitting. This is me. They're calling me out right there on the street. I accept it. So I decided to scrap all of those, but do minimal embellishments. So there's one puffy heart here. That's kind of it. The rest are just cards, and they say enough as is, I think. And I just happened to have this one in my stash that matched. And I was looking for a 4x8 anyway, so that worked out perfectly. And here on the back, this is Jefferson Market Library. And it's actually just over the line into the West Village. Literally, like the block. You cross the other side, you're technically in the West Village. But it's right there off 10th. So if you're looking for something unique, this was really fun. I mean, look at the beautiful architecture here. This, back in the day, when it was made, was actually a courthouse. And then over the years, it became obsolete. They didn't need it anymore. And they turned it into a public library. And there's also a beautiful garden off the side. So if you're looking for something a little bit unique and you're down in the village area, there you go. And then here you can see the inside. I'm going to scooch this over a little bit. And this one I did a flip out with it. So I have some more pictures of the outside. Found some fun cards, just journaled about it a little bit. And I kept this very simple too. Basically, I just used a bunch of phrase stickers and like puffy stickers. That's it. So this one definitely was not that hard to put together. It's just the extra space because it was a flip out. And then I have a bunch of stuff from the inside. And originally I actually had these two inserts. They were going to go between these two pages. But once I had everything finished, I didn't like the way it looked. So I moved them, and now they're going to live here between these two layouts. So you can see I did just a 3x4 insert back to back. I used an attacher from Citrus Twist. And then these were bookmarks they had that you could just take, and they were already laminated and everything. So it worked out really well to just throw an attacher on it, and in the album it went. Then over here, again, since everything was kind of busy, I just did, a very small sticker that matched. And then I had this card. I love the saying, but it was mostly for the colors because there is black here. But then it worked in all of these colors, which you can see in all of the stained glass. When we were done there, then we walked through the village a little bit more, and you can see many of the apartment buildings had decorations up for Halloween or for fall. These were more fall themed, which I loved. I loved all the colors, even the fact that they mixed in some fuchsia and purple. Super fun. And then here again, just some rando shots in the area because the buildings are beautiful, so why not scrap them? And then we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do for lunch, and when we looked on the map, we saw there was a Greek place not far. We both love Greek food, so I'm like, you know what, we're going. I have to tell you, if you're in New York and you're in the Village and you like Greek food, this is the place to go. These are the best tamales I've ever had in my life. And like, I dream about them. I've had them several other places since I've been back from this trip. Failure. None of them even compare. So in a way, this was bad because it set me up to never be satisfied unless I go back here. And this was a fun layout too, because I got to use a card that I didn't know how I would ever use. It was just this weird green background and a lemon. Like, how am I going to use that? It actually worked out well here because I needed green, and lemon is a big part of the Greek palette in flavors that you're using to make things. So it actually worked out really well. So after that, we were on our way to Grace Church, and we noticed the Strand was nearby, and we thought, well, let's just pop in there and see. We didn't expect that we'd spend, more than a half hour, and I think we maybe only did 20 minutes. We looked around because we weren't really looking to buy books. We didn't want to have to carry them with us. We were looking more for things we could scrapbook, like stationery or stickers or things of that nature. And we actually found a couple of things. I found some patches in different sizes that are different New York icons, so that was super cool. And then the lovely checkout person gave us these little bags. They use them as gift card holders. And they wouldn't give us a gift card. They're like, we don't give those out for free, just like as a souvenir, which I totally get. But they said, we will give you the little bag that comes with it. So I kept it and I scrapped it. Then it was on to Grace Church. We were very close to there. And I actually found this card in my stash that is New York, and it says Broadway right there. And I thought, well, that's perfect because the church is actually on Broadway. So I figured it was meant to be. And all I had to do was try to match the reds here. So I just picked an arrow, and then I had a thin red washi, which worked great. And then I have several layouts from the inside of the church because it was lovely. You can see it's very gorgeous here. And I chose to use 2 of my stained glass window cutouts. They're digital files, so I just print them and cut them. And then I did do some gold ink splattering just to bring in the gold tones that are in pretty much everything here. I love this shot. I just kind of zoomed in closely on this, and then I was able to get that sort of as a secondary thing in the background. I used another enlarged photo at 4x8 for the back here with just a phrase. And then they had this really cool self-guided, tour thing you could do with this brochure that claims you can see most of it in 15 minutes. That's pretty accurate. We did spend more than 15 minutes, but we didn't spend an hour by any means. And this was helpful to just find our way around, realize what we were looking at, what's the history behind it. So if you have any interest in doing this, I highly recommend that you go, because look at that. It's stunning. So I didn't need most of the info that was on the back, so I chose to just do a 4x6 over it. And then here, again, more windows. And then here's one of my other digital elements that I cut out and used on the card. After that, again, my friend had never been to the Bryant Park Winter Village when it was open, and I have. So I was like, sure, we can do a quick cruise around just so you can get the idea of what it's like. And then we knew that was pretty much going to be our last thing before she had to fly out. So hopped on the subway, got up there, got to see the Christmas decorations that she wanted. And then these cards from Ellie's Studio, they often come in almost every monthly kit, the ones that are multicolored, and I have such a hard time using them. But this one just seemed to be perfect for what I had going. I'm like, score, all I have to do is slap an embellishment on there and I'm good. And this is just a cardboard sticker. I had, and I want to say maybe it's Pink Fresh that made this holiday set. I'm not sure, but I think so. And then I just chose to take the brochure here in full, because the inside's so colorful. So I did an attacher there, and that's really all I needed to do with that one. So after that, I went back to the hotel with my friend, just rode with her on the subway. She picked up her bag. I made sure she got in her Uber. Pretty sure, yeah, she took Uber to the airport to LaGuardia. And then I was on my own again. So I rested in the hotel for a little bit, but I had a show that night, and so I knew I wanted to stop off here. This is the Stavros Niarchos Library. I think that's how you say that. It's kitty corner from the New York Public Library that has the Schwartzman building that's in Bryant Park. So if that helps you orient yourself at all, that's where it is. But they have a 7th floor viewing terrace that you can do totally for free. So I went up there just to see, like, what does it look like at night from up there? And the views, pretty good, I gotta say. So if you're looking for a free skyline view, perhaps consider this when you're there. So after that, I walked up to my show for the evening, which was Hadestown. And this had been on my list for a long, long time, but I had never been able to make it work. Either I couldn't get a seat in my budget, that would work for me. The date wasn't right, the time wasn't right, something. So I finally got to see it, and it was spectacular. I highly recommend this to anyone where if you are interested in seeing a show, but you're not a super Broadway person, this is a wonderful option. The music is so good. The story writing and acting is so good. I think you'll really love it. So I just did minimal embellishments here too, because there's a lot happening and the playbill front is pretty wild as is. And I chose to take another page out of the playbill and back it with that. So that's why I have both of these here. And then at the end, I was able to get a quick picture of the cast when they were taking their bows. Simple phrase strip there, and that's really all I needed. And then through all of this, like when my friend had left, I didn't have time for dinner, and I really wasn't hungry yet because that lunch we had was so big. So after the show, so this is like 10:15, I think, by the time I got down there, I went to O'Hara's, which was basically right around the corner from our hotel. So I went into I can't speak, O'Hara's, and did takeout. I didn't want to sit in there. I was tired. Like, I've been going all day, so I just wanted to do takeout. So I just picked it up and went back to the hotel, and that's the end of day 2. So hope you've enjoyed seeing more of New York. Thanks for watching.